Well,
I'm going
that
to start a new thing. I'm going to start a new thing early. I'm going to do my what do they call that? New Year's resolutions. I'm going to try to practice it this week and next week.
all right. So,
So
so what is your resolution?
to be on time, to be early,
The early bird gets the
to
worm.
be early. Yes,
Yummy,
yes,
yummy.
right.
Oh, well, so how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm doing really physically. I'm doing well in the daytime. It's just in
Mhm.
the, and I'm doing better. I'm not. I'm not taking any Tylenol or ibuprofen during the daytime. I just have to take it at night. But I am having a challenge at night. But I know that since I'm doing better in the day, it'll roll over to the night eventually.
Yeah.
It's just going to be a longer process than I had anticipated. So, I mean, I see hope. I see there's light.
Yeah. Yep. Were you on yesterday?
Yes, yes, it was very good.
So,
Irma did great.
so teach me, what did
We
Irma?
are we are more than conquerors.
Yeah.
Yes, we are. Yeah, that's it. Yes.
Cool.
Yes. And we talked about preparing our comeback for people who are pushers, food pushers, and that we can be food pushers too.
Yeah.
We need to be mindful of that. And oh, and then I can't remember if it was Catherine. Um, there was three. It's a decision, a like to, and I choose not to. Those were the three um comebacks that examples of good simple comeback.
It's good.
And of course, Oreos are Jesus.
Yeah. Yeah. Oreos or Jesus. So, Kristen, hey, were you on yesterday by chance?
Yeah, yeah.
Yes, it sure was.
All right. What were your takeaways from yesterday?
Um, the let's see. That's a great question. To re-engage my brain here.
Okay.
Um, so just the choice part of it of I choose to instead of I have to.
Yeah.
And come this far, don't give up at this point in the journey. Just realize how far we've come and make sure that we're continuing to make wise choices every day.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, today is day 49, which is officially carb integration, although I know that probably most of us have already started integrating carbs into our diets, especially here around the holidays.
Mhm.
And I'm just curious how you all have been physically feeling. So I love the fact that we are thinking about comebacks for the holidays. I mean, how we're going to speak to people, how we're going to respond when they're pushing towards. I think that is an important piece. Also, we've got to really decide, well, what do we want to do? Uh, when we are in the holidays, what do we want to do? Do we want to stay on plan? Because I find that a lot of times there's this tug of war in between two different mindsets. I want to, and I don't want to. And frankly, sometimes I look at myself, and there are times when I don't want to be on plan right now for whatever reason. But then we have to be prepared for the consequence of that, because whatever we're putting in our body, that's the fuel that we're putting in our body. But that type of fuel that we're putting into our body, it has a consequence. And I was just thinking about this morning. I know we're jumping right into this, but I was just thinking about how my physical body feels whenever I'm not on plan. And I can tell when my body is like, okay, I've had enough, because I get up, I feel like an old woman getting out of the bed. My joints ache and hurt. I feel sore, like I've been through a marathon, even though I haven't done anything like that. And the fuel that we put in our body has an impact on that. And quite frankly, when we're loading it up with lots of carbs, and especially when we get into a consistent pattern of that, our body starts to react and starts yelling at us. And so our body might yell at us and say, you're giving me sugar and it hurts. Sugar it causes pain. Carbs, if they're not managed, then they can do the same thing because they break down into sugar. So I see some other ladies have jumped on. We were talking about what you learned yesterday, and then I jumped right into, what do we want to do during the holidays, and what is that going to look like, and how are we going to take a stand for our plan? So Irma, how are you doing today?
I am doing well this morning.
Great.
Yesterday was a challenging day because my husband asked me to go with him to the gym, but from the gym we went to the mall, to the hardware store. So we left home at about 10, and we didn't get back until about 6:30.
Wow.
And I was just like, okay. Then about 3, he says, you want to eat? Yeah, that would be a good thing. And so we went to Moe's, but I'm even though the advice I gave, I took some of it yesterday, but it is definitely difficult during this time.
Yeah.
Because he is a shopper. I mean, he enjoys Christmas. And if I don't see another ornament tree or whatever, I will be happy. But that's not going to happen because he's already saying, okay, Irma, the 26th, we're going to get up early and we're going to get these ornaments and stuff. And I'm thinking, really? So, but overall, it was a good day. He tries to help me. But the one thing he failed to realize is if he doesn't tell me the whole plan, then I can't plan to take stuff with me, because I thought we were going to the gym and coming back home.
Yeah.
And that did not happen.
Yeah.
So
You were kidnapped.
So
yes, I was
think
kidnapped.
about that. You've learned that. I mean, and your husband, you guys have been married for a while. So what does it tell you in terms of what you've got to do the next time?
I got to take something regardless.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know?
Always being prepared,
Mm-hmm.
no matter what. Yep.
Yeah. The only thing I was prepared with was water. I took a few bottles of water with me, but nothing else.
Well, hooray for the water. Hooray, hooray. All right. I see Karen is on here. Hey, Karen, how are you doing today?
Good morning. I'm doing pretty good now that I was able to unmute. So the power in unmuting. So I'm doing pretty good, but like you, I find myself at a tug of war depending upon the holiday events.
Mm-hmm.
Some days I don't want to be on, or some meals I don't want to be on plan, and some meals I do want to be on plan. But I
Yeah.
think also kind of too, the things that I have to be aware of is um, making sure that you do have your meals and that you're, I tend to sometimes want to eat light if I know I'm going out to dinner and like save all my calories or whatever, but in doing so, then you're just so hungry that you end up making poor decisions. So reminding yourself that that's really not the answer to eat a good breakfast, eat a good lunch, and when you're at dinner, if you really want something, sometimes just that little spoonful will do, at least if you're going with a better intention than just starvation, if that
Yeah.
makes sense.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And so something to think about, the plan that we're on, it's not necessarily about the calories. It's more about the consistency and the types of foods we're eating. I mean, and the truth is, I mean, if you overload on calories, if you really overdo it and you do that on a consistent basis, it will catch up with you. But thinking about the types of foods that we're eating and the consistency in our schedule, that really has the impact, especially for us as women, because our bodies are designed to hoard fat and take it on as much as possible just in case we need it. So I don't know about you, but I feel like I've got a lot of just in case that's built up that I'm ready for the detox already. So, but good comments there, Karen. Catherine, how about you? How are you today?
Good morning. I'm okay today. I'm not feeling so well today. I'm feeling kind of out of sorts, so I'm not sure. I don't know. I feel like I ate better yesterday. I'm trying to regain that focus to in our, the times to eat, the water. So I'm still just working on regaining that and being more aware. But yeah, that's where I'm at. But I will say what I've done well this year. I'm not baking cookies. I did decide to bake bread for people. Um, but it's not my normal variety of cookies. So I thought I'm not going to do that. One, for me, and secondly, why give all that sugar to everybody else? So I'm trying to incorporate um just not doing that. But anyway, so that's where I'm at.
Hang on just a second, y'all. My internet's acting up. I got to switch internet, so hold on. Go. There we go. Okay. Sorry about that. All right. Thanks for sharing, Catherine. We've got Jennifer. So, Jennifer, how are you today?
I'm pretty good. I got to have a wonderful weekend with my mom and sister, my big girls. Um, and it was really hard not to just go with the flow because mostly what we did was eat and shop. um, we had some beautiful meals, and I did not feel guilty about it at all because it was more of a that time that we've never done that before ever. So I'm reflecting back on it and I'm thinking I'm so happy I didn't put any pressure or guilt on myself because I just did what we did.
Yeah.
um what was interesting was yesterday I came back to get right back on plan, and uh I was not hungry at all during the day. And I looked at the clock and I'm like, I have not eaten since breakfast. So that was an interesting experience. I don't know if it was just because I had all that in my system, from the weekend.
Yeah.
Um, but like you, Angie, I'm ready for that detox. And I just keep thinking about that. And I realize how my body does not like the things I ate over the weekend. Like,
Yeah.
what are you doing to me? So while it was wonderful, I wouldn't have changed a minute of it. You know, it having the plan, like Irma said today, already this morning, I've packed my lunch and my dinner. I know what I'm going to eat. That's it.
Yeah.
I'm ready for that. And that is a huge part of it. The success of it for me is being ready for anything, and just knowing what I'm going to do and do it. So that's really helpful.
Yeah. Good stuff. Well, we've been talking about also control versus having a sense of control, and how we tend to struggle for control when really what it is, we just want to have a sense of control, and that means making decisions. And so when I listened to what you said, Jennifer, you made decisions, and it wasn't like anything was forced on you. You just made the decision, you went with it. You know that with every decision, there are rewards, and there are things that are more like consequences or pain. And so we have to balance that out. And if you're gonna experiment and go off plan, honestly, the sustain your wins, that's really, it's, of all the phases, it's the safest phase to do that. So I remember when I first started, the very first time I went through this plan, and it looks different than what we have now. But the first time I went through this plan, it was a period of 3 weeks, 21 days. And then after the 21 days, you can start to get back to what we would call normal eating, just eating the carbs and eating like we want. And I remember those first 2 weeks after I had gone through 3 weeks of this, and I was eating some pretty rough things, right? I was eating some things that were definitely not the healthiest, but my weight did not budge. It didn't budge a bit. The thing is if you consistently eat like that over a period of time and over days and days and days, then it starts to break loose. And so, that was something that I experimented with. And so I'm not saying everybody go out and cheat. It's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying that we've got some space. We've got some room where we can jump back on plan, and remember that our plan it's not a diet. It really is a lifestyle. And that the lifestyle has kicked in when you get off plan and you say, "Oh, I can't wait to get back on." Right? That you've made some lifestyle changes when you get to that mindset. And it's a certain level of fit and focus maturity, I guess you would call it. Like you've learned that, okay, I'm going to choose to get off plan here, but I'm going to get right back on because this is my normal lifestyle.
I would like to add to that, Angie, just real quick. I know that there were times for myself over this weekend where I did make good choices. I mean, there was stuff I could have had a lot of stuff and I didn't. And there was a restaurant we were going to go in, and I mean, the stuff was just dripping with the good stuff. I mean, it was insane, the things they would serve. And I'm like, I would never eat that. I can't. I just can't. Like, no matter how good it looked, it was like, you're talking about that maturity. I'm like, as much as I love all the things that are in that dish, I can't tolerate that. I don't want that. I don't even want it. So I was very happy with that mental state of no.
Yeah.
So I was very grateful for that.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, that's definitely progress. So sometimes when we're faced with that, we have to do the math. And I'm talking about the food fighter math. We haven't talked about this in a while, but what's food fighter math? It's 1 plus 1 does not always equal 2. It can equal 1,000. I'm talking about calories, right? Or I'm talking about like when you have temptation in your life and you plus temptation plus one peanut butter parfait can be 1,200 calories and can have such a detrimental impact on you. The result of that is you're sluggish, you're tired, you're not feeling good, but your body is also like, what the heck are you doing? So I like to think in terms of food fighter math whenever I'm looking at something. Okay, what is this? What is the equation that's happening here? And what is that going to equal for me if I move forward with this jumping off plan? And so I know that for me, that always comes to mind. I always think about, well, you think about in the Bible where there were 5 loaves and 2 fish, and that was multiplied, right? And it was a beautiful thing, and everybody got to eat. But what happens when that math equation is designed to take away from you, to take away your progress and designed to take away your sense of control? So math works both ways. It works in a lot of different ways. So, another example, I have this actually in my notes from a while back. You plus 5 friends at a bar can equal too much to drink, right? Or, oh Lord. So on the positive side, you plus God can equal an infinite number of possibilities. What a powerful reminder that when we bring God into the equation of what we're doing, when we stop trying to do the heavy lifting on our own and we go to God and say, Lord, I'm looking at this food, but I know that I'm trying to fill a void, and you plus me equals strength. I mean, you plus me equals the discipline, the spiritual discipline and maturity that I need. And that can be just such an infinite number of possibilities in our lives. I've said this before and I'll say it again, and I will confess this over and over and over. We can only go so far on our own. And we know when we're operating in our flesh. We know when logic comes along and says, well, I can do this today and then I'll worry about it later. We can take advantage of the situation, but we can also call on the Lord and say, Lord, really what I want is I want to overcome the control that food has over me. Lord, what I really want is to be more than a conqueror through you. What I want to be able to do is to come in and one day be able to say, I'm not even tempted by that. I'm not tempted by that. Yeah, so for me, that's something that I'm working on, and I'm sure a lot of us work on it. We try to go about things without God, when all we have to do is say, Lord, help me to not want that anymore. Help me every time that I see a hot fudge brownie sundae, I see the hot dog casserole or that, however it is that you have to deal with it. So I'm just throwing out a hodgepodge of things today, and you're welcome to comment as we go, but I do want to give Nkeshi a chance to say hello. If she can come off mute, or if she's able to come off mute. Okay, maybe not. So I'd love to get comments about what I'm saying. What is it when you hear about the food fighter math and all of these things? What comes up for you?
I love it that Catherine decided not to bake cookies because she knows she's creating her distance from it.
Yeah.
And I was looking back at our notes from the 4 R's, and in that note was, in reframing and getting our perspective, or getting our true picture, we need to distance ourselves. And so she is practicing that this year. She is, you know, that's a big thing.
Yeah, that is a big thing. It's a big change.
Yeah.
And
So,
really, I mean, it's a milestone in your journey.
yes. And I went back through my notes, and one of them was in restoration. We talked about peace, having, and that's basically what you were just talking about, having peace, that I'm not controlled by any food any longer, that I'm not a slave to the food, that I can, you know, overcome this.
Yeah.
And so what does peace look like to us?
That's a great question. What does peace look like for every single one of us? If I even take that and apply it to my situation, peace looks like I don't care what anybody is eating or doing. I'm
Yeah.
staying true to what I need to in order to be clear and sharp and not feeling guilty. Peace means not beating yourself over the head with condemnation. Well, you should have not eaten that or done this. You know, that's we're not under condemnation. As a matter of fact, we've been given freedom, and peace is about choosing freedom and resting in that. And letting go of all these crazy emotions that grip us, especially over the holidays. Like crazy emotions like, I'm not included if I don't eat the same thing that they are. That's
Yeah.
that's not peace. I mean, that's condemnation, or there's a spirit of guilt there. So, you know, just being able to walk along our path that the Lord has for us, no matter what everybody else is doing around us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Good thoughts. Good thoughts. Anyone else? What's coming up for you? So I want to tag on to Pam's question of, you know, what does peace look like for you? Let's take that and apply that. We're getting very close to the actual holidays. And so what is peace going to look like for you? Give you a moment to think about that, and anyone is welcome to share.
I think for me, peace is about choosing joy and gratitude and letting go of expectations and kind of, I think for me, a lot of the struggle of the holidays is, oh, I thought it'd be like this, or I thought I would feel this way, or I thought other people would do this or not do that. And it just letting go of that and letting it be what it is and finding the joy and gratitude in that. Part of peace is like not being stirred up and troubled. Like, don't let your hearts be troubled kind of thing. And like letting my heart be troubled means I'm letting it get shaken up and disturbed.
Yeah.
And so choosing peace is choosing to not let all that get stirred up. So that's part of it. I think the other part of peace, I keep coming back to Hebrews 12 and verse 11. It's talking about, like, beginning of 12 talks about like setting your eyes on Jesus, the author, perfecter of our faith, and everything he went through, and he did it for the joy set before him. And then it gets into discipline and talking about how God disciplines us. But verse 11 says, no discipline seems pleasant at the time, but painful. Later on, however, it produces a harvest of righteousness and peace for those who have been trained by it.
Yeah.
And so the idea of like a harvest is something that takes a long time. When you're planting, like, you prepare the field and plant it and wait and then harvest. that takes a long time. And in all of that, there's faithfulness, there's consistency, there's patience, perseverance as you're waiting for the harvest to come. But particularly those two things, righteousness and peace,
Yeah.
are the things that grow out of receiving that discipline if we're willing to be trained by it. And that's the other part that's really convicting for me, is like, will I let myself be trained?
Yeah. Oh, great. That's a great insight. And I love how the word emphasizes that. Jennifer's asking for the verse again.
Hebrews 12:11.
You know, I was coming home late one night last week and I was listening to the radio and somebody brought up a great self-intervention, and she was talking about it in terms of, you know, her spouse and her family, they don't ever put their dishes up. They just kind of leave them around. And she just went for so long feeling bitter and angry about that because she was always having to clean it up. You know, and she wanted to clean it up because she wanted things to be orderly. I related to her in so many ways. But she was saying, you know, I learned to take advantage of those times. And instead of griping and grumbling in my mind, I looked at it as an opportunity to be praying for my spouse and for my children. And quite honestly, it only took me 13 seconds to put the dishes away. And so I flipped that. This is the lady talking. She said, I flipped that and thought, oh, I've got 13 seconds to pray for my family. And so she completely flipped that on its head by choosing, you know, every time something comes up where we would normally be upset about that, she said, this is a prayer time. This means that it's time to pray. And all of that frustration and resentment just kind of floated out the door. I thought, wow. And I actually started doing that. And it's making a huge difference in, you know, just feeling disciplined and not allowing external things to stir us up as much as it used to. All right, we probably got time for one more comment before we have to jump off. Anybody else want to share what's coming up for you right now? Okay, so a little bit of reflection work for you in between today and tomorrow. I want you to really noodle on that question that Pam brought up about what peace looks like for you over the holiday season. But let's put some more meat to that. And what I mean is, whatever you decide peace looks like for you, it can't be anything where it's about controlling other people. Because we will always be disappointed if people don't do what we say. Right? So when we think about peace, it's really about your sense of control. And what does your sense of control look like? Okay. All right, ladies. Let me see. Oh, that was Jennifer asking for that scripture. All right, ladies. Well, I hope you have a great day. And I will see you again tomorrow. Okay.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.